This is a story about making and spending money at the top of the world, that is. For as long as there have been humans, we've pushed beyond the horizon. From the great explorers to learning to fly to landing on the moon, we strive to do what has never been done before, and then we do it again and again to the point where it becomes as much a status symbol as heroic accomplishment. Our colleague Michael McKee takes us to the very pinnacle of this phenomenon, to the top of Mount Everest.
Mount Everest has been conquered. Tenzing Norgay, the Sherpa, now called the Tiger of Tigers, and Edmund Hillary of New Zealand, who, like the leader of the expedition, is to be knighted.
At 29,000 feet, climbing Mount Everest has long been one of the pinnacles of human ambition. And in the decade since it was first conquered by Sir Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay Sherpa in 1953, Everest has become something of a playground for the rich, with queues snaking down the summit during the peak climbing season in spring.
Climbing very high mountains, or even the highest, Mount Everest, is expensive, so there's a natural limitation that not everyone can do this. The climbing permit alone from the government of China or Nepal costs like $15,000, so that's already a lot of money to climb one mountain. And then you need all this equipment, you need oxygen, you need guides, and yeah, it costs a lot to climb these mountains.
Lukas Furtenbach is an Austrian adventurer. His company runs tours that can cost as much as 200,000 euros. His latest pitch? Using xenon gas. The target market, investment bankers, CEOs, and billionaires. The cash-rich and time-poor.
One of the big problems of climbing Mount Everest is that it takes so long because your body needs time to adapt to the low oxygen of these high altitudes. And the idea was first that we move this process of adapting the body to these low oxygen levels from the mountain itself to your home with systems where we can simulate altitude. That was the first step that we started like 10 years ago. And with this, we could make the expedition duration. We could cut it down from 10 weeks to 3 weeks, but we aim to go even further. So we have been working on different technologies, how we can enhance the acclimatization process. And we ended up with a medical gas called xenon that has been used in medicine as an anesthetic gas for 75 years in Europe, but also in the US. It helps the body to deal with low oxygen environment, with an hypoxic environment. It increases your red blood cells, it protects your lungs and your brain. And these are all beneficial effects that would help you in high altitudes. So after this treatment, people fly to the mountain, they can helicopter into base camp, and then immediately start climbing. Before, it was about 10 weeks because you trek into base camp and then you start to do multiple rotations on the mountain to get your body used to it. And then after a period of, let's say, 7 or 8 weeks on the mountain in base camp, you finally start your 1-week summit push. So we could bring it down from 10 to 1 week.
I assume this opens up a whole new world of clientele who might not have 10 weeks.
Yeah, that's exactly the point. I started this company in 2014.
Furtenbach also hopes to capitalize on a growing shift from the ultra-rich to seek out adventure in their downtime. From submarines to space to Antarctica and Everest, in a world where travel is increasingly accessible, luxury could mean being different. Lauren Wilt is the U.S. CEO of Quintessentially, a luxury concierge service providing lifestyle support to its clients, including on travel.
It's interesting because as travel has become so much more globally accessible, which is an amazing thing for our industry, we are seeing much more intentional travel. So what that looks like for Quintessentially might be a conservation trip to Africa where they are staying on a preserve. We love Singita properties. It could be a gorilla trek through Rwanda that has a real focus on giving back to the communities. So really taking it to the next level and hyper customization is what we are doing in the luxury market.
Back in Nepal, a country where tourism contributes about 7% of its GDP and about the same number of its jobs. That trend is playing out on Everest.
This is development that I personally could see starting after the pandemic.
What's a higher level of luxury and comfort? You said from base camp to the summit, it's the same mountain climb that you have to do no matter what.
It is still the same mountain, that is true, and it is still, even with a high level of luxury in base camp, for example, it is still something like winter camping. We can set up more comfortable tents, bigger tents, so you have more space, more personal space, more private room. We can set up a bed in base camp. People used to sleep on very thin mattresses with a sleeping bag. Now we can have beds, we can have heated tents, we can have a Western chef coming into base camp. We can serve good wine, we can have Italian coffee with a big Italian coffee machine.
And the Nepalese government is taking notice. Every year it hands out just a few hundred permits to climb Everest, and recently it hiked prices. Deepak Joshi is the CEO of the Nepal Tourism Board.
This is icon of Nepal. This is one of the probably the most pride activity every adventure lovers they want to do in their lifetime. It costs a lot. From last year onwards, the government has made one fee structure. Before that, there was $11,000 per climber. That used to be the kind of fee to climb Mount Everest. Now it is increased to $15,000 USD.
That's a small percentage of the 199,000 euros that Furtenbach Adventures' signature Everest expedition is priced at. But with increased prices come increased expectations.
We have to be very selective. So some of these people just have this idea that now you can buy Mount Everest in a one-week trip and you don't need to do any training for it, and it makes everything very easy. But it's still the same climb, so you still need to do the same training, maybe even more.
Is there an ethical problem with commodifying risk as an affordable adventure for the wealthy?
Yes, it bounces back to the responsibility of the one who is offering this product. So I see a very high responsibility on our side to keep everything what we offer safe, because ultimately the clients are paying us to keep them safe. So of course we can't offer any products that we don't think are 100% safe. The same goes for the xenon treatment. We couldn't do this if we wouldn't have the medical backing that this is 100% safe and only serves to increase safety on climbing. So I'm very confident that we take this responsibility very serious, and I think at the end it's also on us to tell the client if something goes too far, it's a full stop here.
How do the Sherpas feel about this?
The Sherpas that have been involved in this project, that have access to all the informations, they absolutely love it, because for them it means less work for the same money.
Camp 2, this is Camp 2, 6,500 meters.
But the Sherpa we spoke to wasn't so sure.
Xenon gas is, I think that is, one time is okay, but even they continue is that's bad. They need to make a record.
From Everest Summit!
Everest Summit!
The Sherpa are an ethnic group with deep ties to the Himalayas, with many working as guides and providing influential support to Everest expeditions. Kamirita Sherpa's 31 summits of Mount Everest are a world record and include guiding many wealthy clients to get their moment atop the world's highest peak. We met him at his home in Kathmandu.
Rich people, are they more difficult to work with?
Yes, a little bit difficult with the rich people.
Why is that, do you think?
I think they are about rich people, you know. They thinking only money, you know. Without Sherpa, they can't do anything. So they need to the Sherpa in the mountain. Some people is thinking about his money only, you know. Sometimes they say, I have a lot of money, I need to like this in the mountain too, you know. This mountain has to not get to everything.
We can see all different kinds of personalities, but as you can expect, many of them are these type A personalities, high performers in their jobs. They can be difficult, but they can also be very good to work with. They have very different motives why they climbed Mount Everest. And it's always hard to explain someone who has not been climbing, who never had this wish of climbing or climbing Mount Everest, why you want to do this, why you put yourself in one of the most dangerous environments on this planet. Why would you do that? And then earning criticism for it because it is bad for environment. You leave all the trash on the mountain, people die up there. Why would you do this? And I think you can say whatever reasons people are looking into finding themselves, people are looking into going back to real adventure, finding a raw experience. And I think this is partly the truth for some people, but at the end, if we look at very raw and fundamental things that we do in life, we don't invest money to have the experience of making the planet better. We do it to make money. And we don't climb to find ourselves or to find an experience. I think we climb mountains, and especially that goes for Mount Everest, to be on the summit.
Be it Everest or another form of adventure travel, local economies will continue to devise ways to get what they feel is their fair share of the revenue. But the human pursuit to be first, to be fastest, or to go highest seems unlikely to ever go away. Just be prepared to pay for it.